DIY and welcome back to the Urban Homesteading channel with me and Mrs. DIY. Today we are going to kick our workshop one notch up, right? While we have the space, what we don't have is good organization.
Right.
So we have tackled a couple of organization projects that gave us some really good foundation on how to organize our shop. So most garage or shop organization videos focus on the big things, right? Mm-hmm. Your tools, your build-ins, and of course that is important. We have an organization for those as well.
Right.
But the more we are looking around our shop, what causes the most pain for us is not really the big things, but the little things.
Definitely.
So that's why today we're going to focus on how to best organize little things for your shop or garage. So stick around for this very professorial video on how to organize small spaces using very small builds like mini cabinets, mini shelves, things of this nature that will allow you to organize and make all your parts easily accessible, and that will make your shop more organized, better looking, and more efficient. You're still my favorite viewer, and this is going to be an amazing video. So if you're like us, every small flat surface becomes a holding area, right?
Yes.
And sure enough, you don't know where things are. So we're going to address that. Some time ago, we made a video in which we built some really sturdy and useful shelving for our old shop in our old house, as you see here. But what was the problem with them, Mrs. DIY?
Well, we built them with the idea that lots of things can go on a single shelf, but the problem with that is that you have to stack all the things on top of each other and behind each other when you make a big, wide, deep shelf.
And when we moved out of the house, it was like Christmas because we forgot what was in those shelves. As we start unpacking, we found things that we haven't used the whole time we were there, right?
Right.
Then at a different time in that house, we built some shelving solutions for our one of our sets, our plastic set.
Yep.
And on that one, we were limited, as you can see in the picture, by the space we have.
Yes,
so
it was a very narrow section of the shed where we were going to be able to put storage.
And we thought that was a limitation, but it ended up being a blessing because that was the first time we got the concept that a narrow shelf is actually a bit better than a deep one, right?
For several reasons, yeah.
And when we came here, we started looking, and all the spaces we put, all the shelving units we put are actually 12 inches or less.
Yep. This is a tower on wheels that we built specifically to hold these containers. We can see and we have labeled everything that's in the container, so we know what's there, and this is on wheels. So this is another example of a low depth shelving unit that can hold a lot of stuff, but you can get to it easily.
And the biggest challenge that I found we had was with small items. And as you can see here, the previous build inspired us to build this, which works exceedingly well for small items, right?
Right. And you can see there was some inspiration by some of the things we were able to purchase, but there are some limitations there as well, because for something like this, it can hold a lot of stuff, but you don't know exactly what's in there, and it's a little bit less easy to get to.
And then let's come here. This looks organized, but the problem is if we want this, we have to take all the things off.
Right. Everything is just piled on top of each other.
So by having some form of shelving organization, you have everything accessible quicker. And you don't have, because what happens, you take those and then you put them on a flat spot, and then all your flat spots are taken up with crap and you don't know where anything goes, right?
And you don't have workspaces anymore because they're covered in things.
So you need to do a couple of things. The first one is try to identify containers that are similar. For example, all these screws are in similar containers even though they're different sizes, right? Mm-hmm. So when you identify similar containers, you can start building specifically for those containers, right?
Right.
We have a lot of supplies in this kind of containers.
Yes.
And so we're going to build something for that because what we've done in the past is stack them on top of each other and then we cannot find anything.
Yeah.
So today we're going to show you how to take already existing spaces like this behind Mrs. DIY and modified it from just being a shelving rack to be a much more useful organizational system.
Good.
Items, and the other is like sizes of containers.
Right.
So in this case, we started with like items, and we're going to put a shelf that goes from here to here. So all we're going to need is a little self-resting area here, and then here we're going to put some remnants of a 2x4 or something like that, just to hold the shelf up, right?
Yeah.
It is nothing, it doesn't have to be beautiful. Again, this is storage for our shop. So we went to the store and we bought some 1/4-inch stock. And the reason I did that, we could easily take like a 2x6 and mill that. But a lot of times we hear, well, I don't have a table saw, right?
Right.
A table saw or a bandsaw is important for you to be able to mill things. So if you don't have it, you're forced to buy something that's already milled, right?
Right. And this is not terribly expensive.
No.
But it is a good wood. It's poplar. And so it is a little more pricey than you would pay for something like that in pine. But it's also very sturdy.
And if you see it sagging, you can reinforce it again like we've done we've shown you how to do with drawers and other things. But we're not going to put anything excessively heavy, and it is not going to be very wide. Like this is not going to be even as wide as this board.
Right.
So now we're going to go and, without taking any measurements, figure out how we're going to do it. So as you can see, in order for us to work in this area, we removed our drill bits and drivers. And this looks organized, but it isn't, because again, you have to remove things to find the certain things you need. And this is just, takes a lot of time and a lot of space. And here is the problem. I want to clear this area that we can work, and this is the easier spot to put them. And we just made this even worse, right?
Yes, we did.
So there are two things we need to know: how high to go, and that is determined by the tallest container we have, like right here, right? And how wide we're going to go, and that's determined by the boards we bought, which I think are 6 inches. So let's calculate those two dimensions and we'll be right back with you. As you know, we do not measure in this channel. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a story stick that will also be a support. And we're going to decide how wide that board is by simply marking it. So now we have a clear mark, and we're going to cut the piece the correct dimension, and that gives us the dimension on both sides, right? So now we're cutting the piece we marked to our mark. And we're going to show you this process one time. We don't need to show it to you every time, right?
Right.
One of my favorite organizational hacks are these magnetic bars from Harbor Freight. They're very strong. We actually use them in the shop, but I have 2 more because often they give them to me for free when they have come to the store and give you a free item. That's usually what I prefer. So I have 2 of them, and I don't know where to put. They're very handy because anything metal just sits there, you know?
Yep. And we use it for hanging screwdrivers for easy access, our little saws. Just
As
about,
you can see, the magnets are very good.
yeah, any tools that have a piece of metal will just hang right there for you.
So if you find places in your shop that you can attach a couple of them, I think it's very well worth the effort.
Yep.
So we're dry fitting it, and we have a nice snug fit, which is what we want, right?
Yep.
So our next step will be to use our story stick and attach our
Brace.
in the correct spot. So using the supports we cut, we're going to make a mark on the side of our little cabinet there. and that gives us the height, and that has to be the top of our support, not the bottom. That's the only important measurement, right?
Right.
And we're going to, if you want to sew, Mrs. DIY, so we're going to attach it with glue and brad nails, and the only important thing is that the front is flush.
Right.
Now we're going to repeat similar things to the other side of this cabinet, but for now we're concentrating on this side, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're going to glue it and brad nail it. So we're applying a lot of glue. Again, this is not fine furniture. And this is a two-person operation. One has to align it. Missed. While the other is holding it, so we can brad nail it. Or you can use some CA glue as a clamp to keep it in place, and you can do it all by yourself. There. Okay. Again, the brad nails are only helping the glue stay there, right?
Yep.
And somehow we moved it and we recorded nothing. Other side will be a little free floating. We're going to put a little bit of glue on top of those two posts. We'll call them posts, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to give some brad nails. We're going to align it with the sides from the other side, and then we're going to brad nail it. I'm going to think you're ready.
Okay.
Positioning your pieces so they look good is important, even if this is not really a furniture piece, simply a workshop project. So take a little bit of time, as we show you here, to do this correctly, and you will get a good product. And I want to show you the problem we have. You see, in order for us to make space to assemble it here, we had to move things all around, which made the shop actually even less organized, right?
Yep.
So that's what we try to avoid with this exercise. We are trying to make the shop in a constant state of organization. There is no question that we can all use space much more efficiently in our shop. Now we cleaned it again, and placement time. But you can see how much time you can waste by cleaning every time after you do something. Mm-hmm. While you do want it to be tight, and we are tight here, it's okay to apply a little pressure, but if your shelf here starts bowing, then you need to change it to the correct length. And now we have a very nice shelf unit, right?
Yep.
We don't need to attach it on that side because the weight will keep it where it needs to go. So the next step is to put back all our devices. Because that's where the flat spot is. So when you take the one next to it, it won't fall. And we're going to have to label some of them because they're not labeled. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. I want the taller ones in this side and one. Sorry. Again, this is me being a little bit OCD, but I like height to go from one direction to the next. one more.
This is not.
Okay, we cannot fit two more, but we can fit one more. And now it is on the tip of our fingers, right? We can easily take it in and out. And we have, and here's the gain, right? Look at all the space we didn't have before.
Right.
So now we are looking for similar boxes and similar categories, right?
What's this one?
No idea. And that is the crux of the problem, right?
Right.
Again, things are on top of each other. We have no clue what things are. So we're going to have to remove things so we can find what its item is. So bad habits die hard, and we start doing what we had done in the past, and that is stack them on top of each other, which negates the purpose of building this shelving, right? So we're going to remove them and try to figure out a different organization. So this is the very boring and uninteresting part, but where you need to be spending some time to do it right? We see here that this will work nicely, but we'll probably need to put another shelf.
Yeah, to get the most use out of that space.
But I like this idea. What do you think, Mrs. DIY? You know, it looks
Yeah.
pretty nice, but we don't have enough of those, which is okay. We can mix with some other type of screws. We don't use nails as frequently, so we're not going to put nails there, but we'll find some type of screw container that we can put there that makes sense.
Definitely.
So using the offcut of this piece, we cut our second piece of board the same dimension, because we are thinking it would make better use of space if we put another shelf here, right?
Yes.
And it is a little long, but that's okay. We're going to trim it a little bit.
Well, we wanted it snug too, right?
Yeah, but it is,
Too snug?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a little too snuggy. But you get the idea. Again, will be the same thing. We're going to put something to support it there and something to support there. We're not going to have it this way. I mean, it's not furniture, but that's a little too much off, right?
Right.
So like we always do, we found a piece of scrap that we like the dimension, and we're going to make a mark because that will be where we want our shelf to stand, to rest, right? Mm-hmm. So the next step is we're going to use some wood glue and some CA glue to hold it there while we are brad nailing it. So that goes just under the mark, right?
Right.
Our previous approach of Mrs. DIY holding it while was brad nailing, it did not really work. So using the old trusted technique of thumb holding, we are going to put a little bit of glue. We're going to put some wood glue and some CA glue. Again, the CA glue will be the holding power, the clamp. And we're going to hold it for 30 seconds, and that will keep it there until we're ready to brad nail it. Make sure you're flush in the front, please. Press it for 30 seconds. And when this dries, we're going to come and brad nail it. This is the block we used to decide how high we're going to go. So now we're going to put a little bit of glue on it, or a lot of glue. Again, this is not structural at all, right? It's just to keep them together.
No. Here.
Overkill, but who cares, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to take something like this and transform it to something like this.
Beautiful.
Much more organized. Now the next step will be labeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that thing, your friend is a label maker. And you have seen we have already started using it, but now we have to go to town with it, right? Unfortunately, on either side, crack boxes do not have the size of the screws.
Right.
So we're going to create labels, and then when we buy new boxes, we're going to use the same containers again, even though the labels are not expensive. And these containers are where, even though they're transparent, we kind of need to label them.
Sure.
So the next step of the process that we're not going to show you, you know how to. We might show you one label, right?
Right.
Will be to label those things.
Okay.
So this is what happens when you're so well organized that you plan where to put a tool before you have the tool. And you see what that says there?
Mm-hmm.
But the label maker can actually make labels.
It sure can.
But still, label maker, right?
Yeah.
At some point, I had about 5 of them stacked on top of each other. But I found out that stacking things doesn't work for me.
Well, this is labeled on 3 sides. You really wanted to make sure you could see it from all angles.
I was trying. And now it goes here with the other 2, and I have 2 more somewhere. So a hand planer, an inspection camera, you know, all kinds of fun things. Labeling works, ladies and gentlemen. So the problem is that the size of the screws is on top, which of course is not visible when we put it this way.
Yep.
So we're going to put labels with all the size of the screws here, and we're going to be using these little boxes because they're pretty sturdy.
Yes.
So we're going to label them once, and then we are going to keep using them over and over.
Okay.
So this was 1 1/4, and we've written here 1 1/4. And now we're going to print it. Hit print.
Look at that.
And the big button. And now we're going to attach it to the little container there, and we're going to do that for all the sizes we have.
Yep. All right, so we have 1 down and all these to go.
And we're not going to bore you with this, but we're going to do all of them, right?
Yep.
And we're going to do the same with these containers.
Right.
And this now is very easy for us to go and grab the size we want. It makes it very efficient, right? And then we turn it back to where it was. If you do not have a label maker, Mrs. DIY, are you out of luck?
No, you could always use a marker and some tape, whatever you've got.
But labeling is very important. You need to have everything labeled. I mean, that's part of the organization, right?
Definitely.
You do not want it to be nilly-willy.
Definitely not.
Maybe I can 3D print something. That's an idea. And you can even read it with the top closed.
Yep, you can. Okay.
So that is a very good organizational hack. So you can see the difference. Stacking, while it seems organized, it isn't, because you have to be constantly moving things. And we don't know about you, but we end up always putting them on a flat surface, right?
Right. You take
Never
it off
back.
the stack, you move it, you push it around, and then you end up misplacing things.
Because you're in a hurry when you work on a
Right.
project. And look at the difference here. Well organized, well labeled. Everything goes back in its space. It's fast to see. What?
I'm just laughing because it is organized, and you know, as long as you know where it goes and put it back where it goes when you're finished,
that's
then
the
it
rule.
stays looking nice.
That's the rule of the shop, right?
Right.
Put it back where you found it.
Exactly.
So as we're organizing things together, we discover we have enough fasteners to open a small hardware store.
We certainly do.
So that's the other thing. Why we keep buying them? Because we don't know where they are. We cannot find them, right?
Can't find them. We don't know where to look, and they're under something.
Yeah. Now all our shelves here, including these, I intentionally bought them at 12-inch depth, right?
Right.
So all those shelves are 12 inches, and you can see you can still get lost in here. Even a smaller shelf will make sense.
Right.
For us, because these are going to stay between the 2 garage doors, it makes no difference because we'll access them for either direction. So it works absolutely fine.
Yep.
But do not follow the advice of deep shelving. It doesn't work. You forget what we have there, and all it does is get full of dust, and it never works for you, right?
Right.
So smaller shelves are better for you, and they allow you to organize a faster way and an easier way. But as you can see, this is vastly improved. And we only spent about $15 in wood.
Yep.
Now, if you have a table saw and you can mill your own wood, and we just today show you that we don't need to have one, right? You can do it for much cheaper. You can do it for well under $10.
Yep.
But you will have to mill your own wood. You will have to to resew everything. And that is not a problem, but do not think it's necessary. Do not buy stuff just to buy them. Do not buy equipment just to have it. That is what I'm trying to say. And Mrs. DIY is smiling because I wish you would do what you're saying, right? From Professor DIY and Mrs. DIY, please let us know, did you like episodes like that? And if you did, give us a thumbs up and we're going to produce more for you. Let us know if you didn't like this episode or what else you might want to see. We're going to introduce a membership soon and we are going to be asking you what you would like to see in the channel. So to some degree, you will be the directors that tell us what projects you want us to do. So let's have fun building something together.